Hi, I'm Bill Snodgrass, and in this video we're going to do a quick start guide to Anthropics Portrait Pro 19, which is new, it's just out. And I'm also using Adobe Photoshop 2020, which also is relatively new. So let's get started with that. I have already loaded up a couple of pictures. I've already installed the software. We're going to look at editing using the Portrait Pro 19 plugins in Photoshop to edit a couple pictures. We're going to look at some of their claims as to their new artificial intelligence for skin smoothing. Do that first, and then we're going to just jump in and kind of go through this picture and see if it makes sense how to use the application. There is a lot of stuff in the plugin, so this is not going to be a quick video. Go ahead and hit the pause button, get a cup of coffee, but go ahead and hit the like button while you are doing that. We are going to start off, let me quickly talk about the installation. Buy it, download it, and then you do the package, open the package. And here's the first thing that kind of caught me a little surprised. I remember this is how it went with 18, but I forgot when I was doing 19. You install the software and then the installer goes again and it looks like you're reinstalling, but it's not. It's actually the second time installing the plugins. So the first time it runs, it installs the desktop application and then it closes and says successful, and then it acts like it's reinstalling, and that's when it installs the Portrait Pro plugin into your Photoshop folder. So you have to run the installer twice. Once you've done that, the plugin is available right there where you would expect it to be. One of the things I saw in the advertisement was this new artificial intelligence skin smoothing feature, and we're going to use that on this picture. So I'm going to go ahead and just crop that down a little bit real quick and jump into the plugin. Anthropics Portrait Pro. When I hit this button, it will launch. As it did in version 17 and 18, the first thing it tries to do is identify faces in the image. So it's going to identify faces, and it identifies this one as a female. One thing that is a little different is in this version, they have this floating tool palette. So you can put the tools wherever you want, or you can dock it over here where it was in previous versions. It has ran the automatic whatever. I'm going to go into presets and I'm going to remove everything from here, and this could go back to the original. Jump back into controls. All we're going to look at real quickly here is the skin smoothing, just to see if their claim. So typical young adolescent with typical artifacts of adolescence. I'm just going to slide this up and see what happens. They're claiming a more natural and a better smoothing algorithm on this, and my immediate impression is, having used it just very briefly and quickly, it does a good job. That's a very natural looking skin texture. So remove the shine, we can take shine off. Sharpening, trim the eyebrows. I would have to have done the control points, which we'll look at in the next piece. So just their claim of, does this like really have a great new, I'm gonna support them on that. They have changed the buttons up here. This is a little bit different, but it's the return to, and it's going to save the image and return. We're going to go into the other image and we're going to work through more of the tools, having kind of done that quick. I don't want to save those. So this is the same model, and if you're YouTube, if you're interested, yes, I do have consent to use this. I'm just going to make it square, and we will just go from there. So once I've cropped it, then I will do the image crop. Give me a square picture. All right, going into the plugin now. Filter, Anthropics Portrait Pro. Let's see what this thing can do. Again, it's gonna identify the faces. It is going to ask us to move the control points around. This is the first thing you have to do whenever you use Portrait Pro, is get the control points as close as you can to the right places. I said in other videos that I thought from 17 to 18, their algorithm for finding the eyes was greatly improved, and I'm going to stand by that. One of the things that I did say about 17, 18 was that the eyebrow selector always sort of just kind of overdid I feel like this looks a little better than what I expected from the 18. I'm still going to tweak them just a little bit. I tend to want the software to do less, and to move the picture around, you can click on this side and move the picture, and clicking on this side is trying to set control points. So if you need to move the picture around, you grab it on that side. I'm going to pull this down and push this in. I made another video saying that Portrait Pro changes everything. You can ultimately end up with something that is hardly a relic of what you originally started with. This one missed that one. It expects that the person is symmetric, so as I move one side, it will try to move the other, and we just have to decide if that's what we want to do. And this is the area that it's going to apply lighting and skin toning to. And so we want that to be the kind of the lighting boundaries more than the anatomical boundaries. So even though her jawline, the lighting boundary here is kind of there, you can play around with these and get different effects if you want to. All right. Presets, it has done the standard, and I'm always very impressed with when you just throw the standard preset on the difference that it makes between the original and the thing. But that is a subject for another, is just going through all the presets and playing with those. I'm going to reset it to the original, and I'm going to go into the individual controls. Sculpting is not a whole lot different than what it was before. We have the things are in essentially the same places, and so we can do a master sculpt, and then you can do some lens correcting, changing for the wide angle versus telephoto lens. You can do head forward, which is going to do a little slimming, and you can actually change their expression. I demonstrated this to the model before, and she thought it was really creepy, I think is the word that she used. We can volumize the hair a little bit, and it if you don't overdo it, it does a good job, a very natural looking tweak. So that is the face sculpting feature. One of the things I have done in actual photos I was going to actually give back to the client is I have adjusted, because the lip plump, sometimes just the camera angle and the lighting will minimize things, make the lips look smaller than they actually are. Sometimes the lighting enhances lip size, so the lip plumping is something that sometimes is useful. I also have used eye widening, and very subtly, just to increase the size of the eyes a little bit. So I'm going to close that and go into skin smoothing. I liked what we saw before. In this particular day, the model was very clean skinned. There's not a lot of skin artifacts to bother with, so I'm not going to do a whole lot there. I think I will hit the sharpen a little bit, and let's try trim eyebrows and see what that does. So running the trim eyebrows all the way up, I don't see a huge effect. It's doing a better job of feathering that trim, I think, than it did in 18. And then you can set textures with this set of settings here. And then you can also remove the spots if there's skin spotting. Like if you're photoshopping me, you may want to take some of the old age spots off, and you can determine how many of those you want to take off. All right, that's a lot to look at. There's so many things that you can be done. I'm going to come back to this one last, lighting and coloring. Makeup, again, they have all of the pieces in here where we can alter the way the makeup looks. If your client wanted to look a certain way and you change that, they may not be happy about that. If you change their makeup drastically, if your client is a shampoo company and they want their model to look a particular way and the model has no stake in the outcome, then this is going to give you a lot of tools to work with. You can add mascara, which is the line, under the eyelashes. Eyeshadow is interesting. You have matte, shimmer, and different colors. Lower eyeshadow, eyeliner, different types of eyeliner. False eyelashes in the mascara is kind of fun, and sometimes you have to nudge those eyelashes into the right place, and then there are even bigger false eyelashes if you wanted to do that. You can nudge those around, moving where the lash appears on the eye, and you can get it just exactly right. It usually is going to fall on that purple line, and that usually is about the right thing. So we will turn that down just a little bit. Seems a little artificial looking, and I think I will soften them. So going low softness makes them more bold, and increasing the softness makes them softer. And I can give them more or less texture. So we will close the makeup tutorial, eyes. This is one that I almost always use. I like the eyes to be sharpened. I just do this. I feel like brightening the iris also adds just a little bit of pop to the picture. And so you can see we've brightened the iris and we have sharpened the eyes just a little. The other thing that I like to do is I like to add reflection. I don't like to add false reflection, but I like to add reflection where the reflection already was. Now this is a new interface for this program. So we can see that there was some light here and there was a dot there. And you can find all these different versions of the light reflection in the eye. I'm gonna grab this left curve, and that's way too big for my taste. I believe that I'm gonna have a setting to adjust that, and it is at the top. So I'm gonna bring that opacity down a whole lot, and I'm gonna change my mind. I'm gonna go to my standby always has been one medium dot, and then I can nudge that into the place where I would like it to be. I want it to be right here where there already is a dot. So that's the left eye. It's screen left, not model left, and I'm going to bring that up using the nudge and put that dot right where she already had a reflection, and that just enhances the reflection that's already there. Same thing with the right eye. I'm going to move it over and move it up, and that's just going to enhance the reflection that's already there. Symmetry is a pretty natural thing. I'm really interested in playing with all of these different eye reflections. This feels like this will be a lot of fun to play with, but for the purposes of this tutorial, we are going to move on. You can also add contact lenses. I had a model once, wanted her eyes to be blue, and using the contact lens, there's also just change eye color, which allows you to change the eye color. And then you can apply a colored contact lens, and they have vastly increased the number of contact lenses that are available in 19. Let's just throw that one on there. And I'm going to minimize that just a little bit. I don't want it to look terribly different, but enhance what is already there, bring out what our eye psychologically sees things, and then we want to use our photo editing to match what is on the photograph to what our eye has psychologically seen. All right, that's eye enough. You could spend entire videos just on eyes. Nose and mouth, saturation, darkening, contrast. I am going to saturate the lip just a little bit. Even though I put lipstick on, I believe I'm going to saturate that. I'm going to sharpen the mouth just a little bit. And we're going to move on with that. Hair. The hair tool is very complicated and very in-depth. I'm just going to skip that for this tutorial. Also layers, there's a lot that can be done. There's also some other videos out on YouTube on layering picture. This is the overall image adjustments. You can change exposure, you can fill shadows, blacks. I'm going to enhance the blacks a small amount. Let my shadows be a little richer. So I'm making my low end, if I had a histogram, lower. Vibrance is fine by me. Saturation is fine. Temperature, I want this to cool off just a little bit. I want a little less of the red. Just and these are all things that you can do in this. One of my favorite things in Portrait Pro is their Vignette tool. And I like to add Vignette. The way that I get it to be as helpful as I can is first of all, I get my radius, my hardness just as hard as I can get it. And then I can locate where it's going to be. If the hardness is really low, it's kind of hard to see where in order to get the vignette where I want it, I set the maximum amount of darkening and the maximum hardness, and then I can adjust that. And this is what I like about theirs. Now that you can move the center point very easily with the two sliders. You can move it left and right and up and down. So I'm moving it up just a little bit. And now I'm going to try to get my hardness and my amount the way I think actually looks good. So I'm going to take my hardness down to about 30, and I'm going to take the actual vignette strength. Let's go 30-ish again, just to see what that looks like. And so 29. So we'll get just a little bit of darkening around the edges, and I'll bring that. And we're going to say that's good. Again, these are all things that are preferences and taste. So that gets us through everything except skin and lighting. This is a crazy, crazy feature. The amount of things that you can change in here is absolutely crazy. I like to use this to enhance what already is going on. So we have in the original, we have a lot of just sort of general lighting. It's in a well-lit area with light coming from a lot of different directions, but there is this light coming in from the top, this a skylight. And so if I turn this on and bring this up to that place, I can enhance what's already there, or I can move it to a different place and sort of balance what is already there. So if you have an image that is like overly lit on one side and you want to soften it, you can balance that here. This is the amount of impact. The higher the contrast, that's more like a spotlight, then you can enhance the image that way. So I've put that where it came from. It makes the enhances what's there. If I put it opposite, it sort of counterbalances. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna put it opposite a little bit, and then I'm gonna let it soften up a little bit. Now we have these two things, the modeling light and fixed lighting. These will make the image so different that it becomes almost plastic or cardboard. but you can add just a very small amount of these things to correct things like shadows that you didn't want. I'm not going to use the modeling light on this one. I'm not going to use the fixed light on this one. I am going to put a little bit of the shadow in on the right side of her face. I can do that with this right shadow. It will bring that shadowing in. Now, I'm actually going to not do that. I'm actually going to take that off. But I could if I wanted. I thought it would look nice, but once I tried it, I don't like it so much. This is where those lines that we have picked here are working. So these lines are determining where the shadows are going to fall and where they're not going to fall. Just for the sake of an edit, I guess I'll put it at, let's say, maybe 10. The kick is going to be the bright light. And again, it's left of image, not left of model. So this is going to be this intense light that is sort of kicking in on that side. They call it a kick. I'm not going to use that. Smoky eyes makes the eyes as if they're deeper in and the light is more above. It gives them more of a smoky look. There's makeup for that. The pout is this lighting under the lip, and I will sometimes use that when I feel like the image looks a little flat. So by bringing the pout, it brings in some of these shadows and it'll bring a little bit more depth to the image. And then sculpting the nose is something I have never thought I wanted to do. It highlights this area in here, and I've never thought I wanted to do that. Now I've done so many different things in so many different places. The image has sort of drifted pretty far from the original, and so just to take it a little further, we can fiddle around with the skin itself. There is all of these different skin settings. Natural is kind of a palette of skin colors that are expected. I generally would use that, but there are different palettes that you can bring in and apply those to change how the skin zone appears, and you can see that it's not affecting down here. That is because here is primarily working on the face area, so you have to be really careful about using this. I'm gonna put it back on natural, and then I have these other buttons that will impact the image. So we can work on tanning, tinting, and temperature. I want to get that back undone. So skin color is another feature that you can use, and it primarily is going to operate on the face. As a tutorial, I've gone through and we've tried a lot of things, and I've ended up with an image that is quite a bit different from the original. This is probably not something that I would deliver to the client unless they wanted to look completely different. Reverting it back to the original, and then I have one of the things that the 19 did was it grabbed my presets from the previous version. I had one that I did with students who were at prom, and I popped the eyes some and smoothed the skin just a little bit. This is the standard preset that is built in. There is all these different types of presets, sculpting and no sculpting, so you could work through the presets and get to something relatively quickly that looks pretty good. But I was kind of glad that I have a couple of presets that I did and saved, and they did come through into the new version. All right, so coming back into using the return button, we come back into the Photoshop, and there it is. This is with the preset, the Prom Boost preset on it, and that's it. There's a lot in this application. We've gone through all the different pieces of it: the skin smoothing, the sculpting, the makeup, all of those pieces. It gives you a great ability to do a lot of changes very, very quickly. Hope you enjoyed this. I know it's a lot of content, and trying to get you up and going on a very complicated and very powerful program. So thank you for watching. Please click the like button, subscribe to the channel, sign up for notifications. I will occasionally do other tutorials looking at various different features of 19. Might do that eye thing again. Might just do a whole tutorial on using the eye tool. Look for that. Otherwise, again, like I said, thanks for watching. Click the like button, all those things. Leave me a comment, question, or suggestion, and watch for